Hello, and welcome to a brand new video. Today, I wanted to talk about the story called the amacizia case, or as I first heard it when I came across this case, W56. Now, let's begin. A group of 4 to 5 men are exploring a mysterious island that they found on the coastline in Italy on the Adriatic Sea, when suddenly, out of the bushes, comes out a very tall white man with shorts and a beach button shirt. They mentioned how the tall man was emitting a lot of love and happiness, and when he approached the group, none of them felt threatened or scared of him. The tall man talks to the group and asks them, "Would you want to work with us?" And the men just couldn't say no, since the tall man was being so nice. They just couldn't reject the offer. They accepted, and the tall man starts by describing each one of them their jobs. "You will be the driver. You will get the oranges. And you will do this." He continued by describing each man their roles, so the work was pretty much one guy brought in a truck, another guy goes and buys a bunch of oranges, they load them up on the truck, and the driver heads and drives towards the location given to him close to the coastline. Once the driver arrives, he was told to park the truck and not to look behind him. Even when he got out of the truck, he couldn't be facing the oranges that were loaded in the back. From there, 2 things would happen. The oranges would either disappear and vanish from the back of the truck, or all the oranges would instantly appear dried up, leaving behind a thin dried shells of the oranges. The men working with the tall man soon realized that whoever they were working for had very good technology, and that it wasn't only him alone on that mysterious island. The men in a natural way realized that who they were working with were not humans, but several different species of extraterrestrials that live on that island, or better said, in the island. The reasons why I said this is being that it's a fake island, hiding its true form. This group who the men worked for go by the name W56, and they lived in one of many of these huge base-like ships that are underwater, and when these ships come up to the surface, it camouflages itself as an island to not attract any attention. To enter the base, it was a fascinating procedure. Wherever on the island, if it was on grass or dirt or sand, a hole would appear almost like if gravity pierced a hole in the fabric of reality, opening a big enough entrance to enter the base, which was down below. In this base, there was other humans living here and others that would visit often. The base was very well equipped and prepared to house all these organisms and different species. The men that were hired did multiple of these trips, and it involved the same rules, where the driver could not turn to face how the oranges were taken, and most jobs with these extraterrestrials were like this. But that didn't mean they didn't allow no human to see how it was done. All the humans working with W56 would not know or be able to see the same things. For example, one person could know something but has never seen it in their lives, and the other has seen that same thing but has no clue what it is. And that's how their operations usually went about. We can come up with our own conclusions on why, maybe due to some type of safety reasons, my guess. And as I mentioned earlier, this group of men were not the only humans working with this group of extraterrestrials. Many humans actually lived side by side with these beings in the ship working on other jobs. Many humans that were hired will also provide for W56 clothing, human resources, and apartment leases. For that to work, these extraterrestrials camouflage themselves to be able to live in the neighborhoods nearby. They even made friendships with the locals and joined hobbies and the culture there as well, as indulging into drinking, trying out the Italian cuisine, and even smoking, even though these extraterrestrials do not consider it as a good thing to do. They still tried and continued to submerge themselves into the human Italian culture. and none of the humans would suspect a thing about them, and the only ones that would know will be the humans working with them, of course. Here's a picture of a very tall reptilian who is part of the W56 group, posing next to his hologram that he made of an average-sized man. He told one of the men hired to take a picture because he was going to pose next to his camouflage to show him his real size. And as you can see, he looks a bit translucent, almost like if he is a hologram, but it's the other way around. Many of the real humans that lived in the ship would receive no evidence whatsoever of them being on that ship, and the ones who were able to receive evidence, like be able to take pictures, were given specific directions on how to release them. As said by one of the last survivors of this event, called Gaspare de Lama, the directions were that he had to send these pictures anonymously to a local publisher and never tell no one that it was him that took these pictures.
Ecco, queste sono le mie fotografie.
Y estas sí son verdaderas fotografías.
Queste sono le mie
Son las
fotografie.
fotografías de Gaspare de Lama.
Ecco. E questo è l'articolo di Ghibaudi.
Y este es el artículo de Ghibaudi,
Era un noto giornalista
que hacía parte del grupo.
che faceva parte del
Okay. Ghibaudi era un famoso periodista que hacía parte de los W56, del grupo Amicizia. O sea, el grupo que estaba cerca de los W56.
Este fue el ovni que voló sobre Milán.
Sì,
Estos eran W56.
W56.
era per appuntamento.
Pero esto estuvo todo organizado. Entre ellos, o sea, entre el grupo Amicizia,
Sí.
Gaspare, Bruno,
Sì,
Ciccia,
Bruno Ghibaudi.
Ghibaudi, todo el grupo de la Amicizia
20
y
personas.
los W56.
That way he wouldn't be able to break the pact that he made and over 150 people made with W56. And that pact that they made was to not speak or mention anything about this collaboration for over 50 years to no one, not even with those who were also working with W56. So if you were part of this group and stumbled upon another member, you would just sit down with them and have lunch together, never mentioning a thing about the group W56. And now speaking about W56, I wanted to dive in more into the topic of who are these beings. So we have the tall white guy who emitted love and happiness. He was the recruiter for the group of men that I first mentioned when started in this video, but he's not the only one. There is a whole cast of beings working within W56, like this tall man who is not human, but he looks human, and there's several other species of extraterrestrials that look human. This might confuse some of you on why do some aliens look like us, and to make it more understandable for you, it's not that they look like us, it's the other way around. We look like them. I can go more deep into detail about our ancestors and our cosmic seeders for another video. Leave me a comment to let me know if you're interested. But back to W56 group. They had humanoid beings like Cyclops, Greys, reptilians, insectoids, and many species all collaborating and helping each other for a certain agenda, and that agenda is to spread more harmonic energy onto the planet Earth. You see, this cast of extraterrestrials, W56, use harmonic energy to fuel their ships and towns, and that harmonic energy comes from us humans, and the beneficial thing about this is that it doesn't cause us no harm, other than allowing us to elevate our vibrations and make a positive impact in the world. But since recently humans have gone through many wars, causing massive destruction, trauma to the human, lowering our frequency and causing us to release negative energy from our emotions like sadness, pain, and agony, all this energy does get harvested in order to fuel another cast of beings, and those are called the CTR group. Now, this caste has no use for harmonic energy, so there's no point in allowing humans to advance and to not be deceived. On the other hand, the W56 caste has no use for negative energy, so love and peace has to spread to increase this energy. Apparently, the ones mainly responsible for the start of the hippie wave movement is none other than the W56 caste. Their mission was to spread awareness on how unnecessary all these wars are and that we have to unite in order to see a better future for our species, along the process increasing harmony and love throughout humanity. This plan did take a big toll on lower frequencies and wars going on. After the big flood of hippies and the push of peace, it spread like a disease from one day to another. Irregular folk became someone who stood up for trees and protests for the sake of the earth. Of course, the CTR group wasn't just gonna allow this to happen and continue, so they gathered up and came up with a very strategic plan to destroy the hippie agenda. And we all know that the best way to destroy something is to attack it at its core. So the plan was to make it so that whenever you thought or saw a hippie, you would immediately assume now that they are just a druggie, they are lazy, and they don't do nothing other than taking drugs and getting high. I know people will come at me and say, well, it was true. If you look up hippies in their era, they all looked high, they all took some sort of psychedelic. But what people don't realize and always seem to forget is that Uncle Sam ain't always the good guy. Just like certain agencies that flooded black neighborhoods with certain illicit compounds that were very addicting, they also had agendas that influenced a lifestyle that was very self-destructive. The same thing happened to the hippies. Many people that attended these hippie events were actually psyops given a mission to sell and distribute certain drugs and as much as they can, even giving them out for free. And it was a success. Not long after, everybody viewed the hippies with a bad eye. It's almost like a joke that's not funny, but you still laugh at. We suppress people who just wanted a brighter future, but the influence and powers here are very strong and made us believe that they were the issue, when in reality it was a glimpse of hope for all humanity, instead of continuing all this war and bloodshed. And with me telling you this, you might think, well, isn't it obvious that it's the CTR group that are the evil ones? Well, yeah, us as humans, that would be our first assumption. But when members of the caste W56 were asked about the CTR group, they never refer them as evil or that they are the enemy. They would simply call them the opposites. And well, it makes sense. The nature of the CTR group is that they consume this lower frequency energy. It's their source of fuel. They have no use whatsoever for harmonic energy. But on the other hand, W56 does have use for this harmonic energy. The difference is that one caste causes us more harm and the other one wants us to be more happy and harmonic. W56 will work with humans who have a sense of love and respect. And CTR, on the other end, they work with people who murder, commit violent acts, and with powerful people who want war. The exchange for this evil committed would be materialism, power, money given to them by the CTR group. And for the people that worked with W56, they wouldn't receive no type of gift or reward. It's simply the act of helping one another. W56 has been doing a lot of moves to create a wave of harmony, and also the caste W56 is just one group of many others with the same agenda, because there's the Umitas, the Pleiadians that hanged out with Billy Mayer, the Island of Friendship in Chile, and many more. But it was just a matter of time before W56 were found by CTR. The fight between these two castes of extraterrestrials escalated after the harmonic agenda was stopped, and the location of the ship that belonged to W56 was located in Italy on the Adriatic Sea. Now, this ship was not only just for transportation and hiding, it was a huge laboratory and a very advanced one too. And the CTR group had full knowledge of this, and their goal was not only to get rid of the cast W56, but also to steal and take over the laboratory. The CTR group is a very strong one without a doubt, and apparently they did not come alone to Italy. They had good backup. But W56 was a step ahead. In order to not risk having all the laboratory's intel taken over by CTR, they made the decision to destroy them themselves. The CTRs were able to enter and destroy most of the W56 bases, including the largest one, which stretched from Ortona to Rimini, 2 towns on the coast of the Adriatic Sea, some 235 kilometers apart from each other, and from the center of the Adriatic to the center of Italy. I leave to the reader to imagine the catastrophe that hit W56. No cruel description would equal what they themselves had forecast. You'll see waters rising. They will be boiling over the place where we have built our big base. It is sufficient to read newspapers' accounts of the time about sea waves going berserk in the central Adriatic, about the unexplained numinous phenomena, and about the terror experienced by fishermen trying to flee the area in their boats. The Coast Guard radar recorded strange echoes in the meantime. A spectacular UFO activity took place. Some of the fishermen that survived that incident speak about how the waves elevated like a wall and stood in its position. It sounds more like a curtain that was used to not let people see or get harmed by the catastrophic battle going on that time. One can only imagine a battle between UFOs, and the only thing I can use as an example would be a Star Wars type of battle. But that still wouldn't even come close, because we have to admit Star Wars is still too humanistic. When it comes to this battle in Italy, we are talking about high chances of weapons capable of plasma, particle acceleration, gravity attacks, disintegration bombs, and time-bending machines. And only God knows what else they have. All this just tells us that we are just not evolved enough to understand this world that belongs to these extraterrestrials. Also, a very important detail is that nobody knew about this case from 1956 until 2006. Then a book was published that same year called Contacto de Masas, and that just means that the pact was fulfilled and never broken by these people that worked with W56, showing us that they had a high sense of loyalty towards these people from W56, and I call them people because that's exactly what they were, people, just more evolved. And the name W56 stands for Viva 1956, or Live 1956. And with that, I have presented you the case amacizia, or W56.
Cari amici, cari figlioli, siate certi di noi, poiché nessuno tra noi vacillerà. Voi siate uniti, uniti, uniti e sopportate le vostre debolezze reciproche, lottando e migliorando come uomini e come nostri cari amici. Il nostro mondo per voi cari non è facile a capirsi. Questo è naturale, ma con l'affetto e la fiducia potrete ugualmente stare vicino ai nostri cuori aperti a voi e comprenderci di più. Un abbraccio fatto di caldo affetto e di pura amicizia dal vostro Sigir.